Okay, it's Saturday night. I'm relaxing now after having gone out and done my shopping, got some groceries, and bought really a lot of whiskey because I had a great week. I'm not going to taste any of that whiskey now because I've got a lot of these samples to go through and miniatures. This one I actually picked up at the liquor store back in September, the 2nd of September. It's a Crown Royal. It's just a miniature. I wasn't going to buy a whole bottle. And it cost me a grand total of $3.29 plus 10 cents for the bottle deposit. So I guess I can get a dime back for taking this bottle into the container place, which would be fine. So I have a little flight to go on tonight. This is the very beginning. I'm going to crack this guy open and tell you what little I remember about it. This is a really classy plastic bottle. And Crown Royal was developed by Seagrams back in the 30s or 40s when King George VI or something came to visit Canada, and they created this whiskey on his behalf to commemorate his visit to the country. And starts with a base of corn, so it's a corn-based whiskey, and like most Canadian whiskeys, there is rye whiskey, which is aged a little longer than the corn base, and the rye is added for flavor. So a typical Canadian formula takes some corn whiskey and takes some rye whiskey. The rye whiskey is a little older than the corn whiskey. Take the corn whiskey, that's your base, and blend in rye whiskeys to get the flavor profile you want. And what they do is they blend in rye whiskeys of different ages to get to that amount or get to the flavor profile that they want. And they can make just about any kind of flavor based on what whiskeys they used. Most of it is aged in ex-bourbon barrels or new barrels. American oak. Sometimes they use sherry a little bit, not much though. So here, as is typical of Canadian whiskey, you're getting the corn and the rye blended with the corn whiskey for flavor. There's some distilleries that will add wheat. There's one distillery that even uses wheat as a base. That would be Highwood in Alberta. So they make their own wheat whiskey, and they blend in corn whiskey and blend in rye whiskey from other distilleries to make their own products. But we're not talking about Highwood. Right now we're talking about Crown Royal, which is that great big powerhouse distillery in Gimli, Manitoba, where when Seagrams, the demand for Seagrams went down, well, they were using it as a branch plant, basically. And the whiskeys that were being made in their plants in Quebec and Ontario weren't selling as well. And the whiskey that they were making at Gimli, Manitoba was selling better than the other whiskey, so they kept they kept the production going there. And eventually, when the Seagram Empire broke up, the Diageo decided to keep the Gimli plant going, or I think the Gimli plant was the one that kept going towards after Seagram's broke down, and Crown Royal, the brand was, and the distillery and everything was bought by Diageo. So it's your Canadian Diageo product, which is the Crown Royal. They make other whiskeys too, other brands. There's VO and 83 and well, all the Seagrams. that's still being made, and Crown Royal, which is a brand in itself now. Um, do I remember anything else? Not really. It's a big blur, but I enjoyed reading the book that was sent to me by Sneerson, and it's written by Davin de Cargamono or something like that, and it's entitled Canadian Whiskey. Well, on the nose, pleasant sweetness from the corn, flavor, almost perfumey flavor from the rye. At least on the nose. Smells nice. It's making my mouth water even before I've had a drop. Yeah, let's give it a taste. There's something soft about it. Soft, it's almost like a mixture of toffee and custard. Um, Buttery, um, smooth, creamy. You could call it creamy. A little bit spicy with the rye, but not like an American rye where it would be tasting like dill and or mm, the other thing that American rye is famous for tasting like. Mint, menthol. Mm. It's quite pleasant, and it's only at 40% alcohol by volume. It's only the first dram of the night for me, so I'm using it as a whistle wetter, somewhere to start before going on to things that are more complex and stronger in alcohol. It has legs. I don't know if you can see those from here, but this was a clean glass when I started, and the legs are moving down slowly. Interesting. I'm getting some vanilla. Vanilla notes with the toffee and with the custard, the creaminess. It's rich and creamy, a little bit chewy, surprisingly chewy for the 40% alcohol by volume. It goes down very nicely. There's a little bit of spicy note from the rye, and the spiciness could be um, maybe thought of as something like a white pepper, but the that's covered over with that creamy smooth corn, the sweet corn, and creamy smoothness of this. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of American white oak in the maturation. Considering how much of this stuff they produce, and they produce a lot, it's quite a high quality whiskey. Although there are a lot of people who will poo-poo it and claim that it's only 40% and it's only a good mixer. You know, it drinks nicely. It's smooth, it's easy to drink. It's rather enjoyable for a start. If you're just beginning with whiskey, you're just starting out with whiskey, this is a good place to start. Whether you're experienced and it's your first dram of the evening, or if you're not so experienced and you're starting to learn, it's not a bad place to start. It's a great place to start if you're going to go on to other Canadian whiskeys like 40 Creek and Weiser's Legacy and the Canadian Rockies 21-year-old, or if you're going to go for the 20-year-old 90, which is bottled at 45% alcohol by volume. And it's a good place to start. I wouldn't say that it's my favorite, but I also wouldn't say that it's the worst. Okay, the shape of the bottle is a little bit pretentious and frou-frou, but the content of the bottle is all right. Great for mixing, or you can sip it and relax. Well, that's mostly what I got to say about the Crown Royal. I've had it before, and now I've come to revisit it, and it's not nothing. It's a decent middle-of-the-road Canadian whiskey. Cheers to your very good health.
Food Quig.
Food Quig.
Food Quig.
Food Quig.
Food Quig.
Yeah.